Hi everybody, welcome back to Startup X. This is lecture 6, T.H.M.C, Team Hiring, Managing, and Culture. The team starts with the founder, so that's where we're going to start. As the founder of a startup, you need to do 5 different things. One is you need to set the strategy and the vision of the company. 2, you need to evangelize the company to everybody, investors, employees, partners, customers. You need to hire and manage the team. You need to raise money, and you need to execute. You gotta make sure the entire team executes. You gotta set the bar. In order to pull this off successfully, in order to be a successful startup founder, you need to have a very unique combination of qualities. That includes being passionate, but you also gotta be smart. Passion alone isn't gonna get you there. You need to be smart, but resourceful. You need to be determined, but low stress to work with. You can be driven, but you can't be a maniac that nobody wants to work with you. You gotta be the type of person that's very, very low stress to work with. What that essentially means is you can just count on that person to get it done. You don't have to worry about it. They'll just get it done. They're very easy to work with, obviously, because they can carry the team. You need to be rigid, but you gotta be flexible. You gotta be flexible enough to adapt and change, but you gotta be rigid enough in your vision not to compromise it for anybody. You gotta be responsive and decisive. Make a lot of decisions. You can delegate as much as you want, but there are decisions that ultimately you'll have to make. You have to be responsive, which sucks. It will take over your life to the point you can't even imagine. The company will be on your mind the entire time, especially when you actually do become successful. If you become successful at it, you know, there goes your life. So you gotta really be like cognizant of what you're signing up for with a startup. And you gotta be super duper focused. You gotta have the X factor. Being the founder of a company is essentially being the quarterback of the team. People gotta count on you to get it done. You're low stress to work with because you can get it done no matter what. That guy can always get it done. That's what you want your team to say about you. So these things are a lot more important than your expertise in Python. Being a startup founder is a very intense job. The amount of extreme focus and intensity you need in order to get the job done means there is very little room for anything else. It completely tips the scale of work-life balance to work. You really can't do, and you can have a family in a startup, or you can have bowling and a startup, or you can have collecting comics or a startup. There's no more room for anything else. There's a lot of pressure, a lot of decisions that only you have to make. A lot of people count on you. Sleepless nights, anxiety. There's a ton of different things that hit you. You can't even imagine it, that you're not even prepared for it. The highs are extremely high, the lows are very low. If you can't find a way to stay level through the journey, you're gonna definitely struggle. So you gotta mentally prepare yourself for the game. Pressure gets to you, it gets really, really lonely. You gotta mentally prepare yourself. You can't be weak going into this thing. It's an extremely long game. It's 10 years. That's why the mental preparation is so key. You gotta look at it like, hey, I'm gonna go for 10 years to this camp, or I'm gonna sign this contract. At the end of 10 years, I'm gonna cash out, maybe. And the way that's gonna work is you eat well, you sleep well, you exercise and you work and you spend time with your family. You really need to have that kind of, at least those things that you can control. You need to definitely make sure you're taking care of yourself, you're mentally okay. You can't say, I wish I had more money. I wish I had another engineer to get me through this milestone. Nobody cares. And that's the really difficult part, because you got to learn how to figure it out. You got to be unstoppable, really beyond the unique and rare combination of human traits and characteristics that you have to embody to be a startup founder. You also have to be unstoppable. You got to be persistent. You can't quit. You got to be the person that just gets it done, no matter what it is. And your team needs to feel that way about you. That energy needs to be perforated to the entire culture and the team of the company. OPP, you got to be extremely paranoid about all the different things that could go wrong with the startup, and a lot of things will go wrong beyond your imagination. You gotta constantly be paranoid about that, but you gotta be optimistic. You gotta be optimistic. You gotta let your team know that this company is gonna change the world on a long enough timeline. If you stay persistent, you have all those qualities, and you stay at it, you really are increasing your chances of success. It's kind of like you start up with very low probability of success, kind of like signing your name for the SATs. You get automatic points. With a startup, you start off with like a 5% chance of probability of success. And then, but you know, with the right curriculum, with the right education, with the right experience, with the right tactics and point of view and approach, and network, and you're working on yourself, you can actually tilt the odds a lot better in your favor and not be scared with the statistics of, oh, 95% of startups are going to fail. Because if you actually work towards adding or buying 5% here, 10% there, increasing your skills that cover gaps that are 10% here and there, then you're going to be much better optimistic. The day-to-day challenges could become overwhelming. You got to keep the long-term vision in mind and make sure that the entire team understands that as well. That one day you look at these challenges, the day-to-day challenges, and they'll be a remnant of the past, something you can laugh about and talk about when you speak of your journey. Hiring is especially important when it comes to building a great company as opposed to building a great product. And rule number one in hiring is try not to hire. It's expensive, it creates organizational complexity and communication overhead. And the wrong hire will be the death of you. So try to be proud of getting a lot of things done with a very small group. Because what you don't want to do is compromise on a hire, which most startups end up doing out of sheer desperation. So your best bet is try to go as far as you can, or wait a relatively long time before you make your first hire. It burns a lot of cash. But if you are going to hire, make sure you hire the absolute best. Those are people that are going, they can have any job they want. They're looking for rocket ships. So that's why it's also important to try to get as far as you can, so you have something decent that they would want to jump on. What do you look for in your hires? You got to look for smart people, people that have raw intelligence, people that get things done. They're like obsessed with checking things off a to-do list, doers. You got to look for people that you can actually stand being around. You're going to be spending a lot of time with them. That's really important. People don't talk about that. Do you really like the person? Can you be around them? Would you want to, if the roles were reversed, would you want to report to them? Is that somebody that you could report to? Would you feel comfortable doing that? Do they have great communication skills? Are they manically determined? Do they have a high tolerance for risk? That's especially important for your first hires. Do they have a very high aptitude? Aptitude is a lot more important in my eyes at least, an experience, because if you have the capability and the bandwidth to take on more or learn more, that's the kind of person that doesn't really have like a cap off that you want, that doesn't really cap off that you want on your team, because they'll help you take the company to the next level. You'll evolve and become better together. They can push you. You're going to be spending 25% of your time on recruiting from launch till infinity. That's just part of the game. So make sure you have a program in place where you can work with them before you hire them full time. So you can see, especially if you don't know the person, that's really, really important to see what the working dynamic would be like before you make a long-term commitment. You can't hire negative people, specifically in a startup that is, it's extremely sensitive to that, because the entire rest of the world is already praying for your demise and think you're gonna fail. So you need a united team that's kind of united in their mission and thinks to the contrary of what everybody else believes. That's extremely important. No negativity. Your first hires have to be a lot like you. They have to be unstoppable. They have to react quickly. They have to be resourceful. They have to be determined. They have to have all of those X factor qualities that you look for. It's better to multiply yourself than bring somebody mediocre in, and try to strive to go for the people you really don't think you can get. They need to have that X factor, that James Bond syndrome, that no matter what, this guy is gonna pull it through. If you can find those people, take them on, or else do not hire them. If you have any doubt whatsoever, the answer is no. You should invest in being a good manager, because at the beginning you're probably gonna suck, especially as a first-time founder. You're gonna make a lot of mistakes, and you're gonna need a team at some point to get you across the finish line. So invest in being a good manager. And the best way to motivate people is through giving them autonomy, mastery, and a sense of purpose. You can give them directions and instructions and delegate tasks. That's something you really got to get good at doing, is delegation and giving feedback. But you got to give autonomy for them to shape the project as they see fit, in order to build that trust that the team so desperately needs. And it also leads to their pursuit of mastery, trying to master what they're working on. So it's symbiotic for both the company and the employee. You also have to have, the employee should have a sense of purpose, that what they're doing something for the greater good, that this is something bigger than their job at hand. Praise your team, treat them well, celebrate your successes, solve your setbacks, do not micromanage your team, and validate one another. Get good at teamwork. All the praise needs to go to the team, and all the failures you need to shoulder yourself. You don't get to make excuses, and that's part of being a good manager. Don't go into hero mode. Don't try to do everything yourself. Try to get your team involved, get the team dynamic and chemistry going, even if it means you're late on projects. Remember, in your startup journey, with the things that you have control over is choosing the decision maker. There are 1,000 things that are gonna happen. You're not choosing that decision per se, but you're getting to choose the person making that decision in that position. So make sure you fire fast anybody that's toxic. To the company, culture. People that are negative or toxic, people that create office politics, it's the worst. And people that are just bad at their job. And you'll know if they suck, because like every decision that they made, they got wrong. And that's not the decision maker you want in place for your company. Everybody's going to make mistakes, but at some point it's overwhelming, and then you can't dance around being polite. You got to just fire them fast on the spot. If they're not doing their job right, fire them fast and move on. It's not a popularity contest being a CEO. You're on a mission. So if you don't like that, get another job. It's not for everybody. It does get lonely. Those are some of the decisions that makes this job particularly hard. Okay, culture. One of the most imperative tasks, jobs as a founder of a startup is determining and defining the missions and values of your company. What's important to the company? How is the company thinking about things? Who is the company hiring? Who's the company firing? Who's the company promoting? This is all part of culture. Culture is really, and it sounds hokey to talk about spending some time and really thinking about those things, but it's worth it because that little bit of down payment and time you spend kind of outlining these important imperative factors in your company, you'll avoid a lot of problems in the future, and it'll make certain things automatic that you don't need to really think too much about it. Like, it provides principles, alignment, and stability, and trust. Strong culture takes care of all of these things. So if you're faced with a decision that's difficult or you're unsure about, you can look at the culture of the company. It provides the principles you need to fall back on. Or if you're facing setbacks or downfalls, it aligns everything, provides the stability you need to make it through the tough times that are inevitable in startups. And also trust. A strong culture that everybody loves working at provides trust for the employees to continue working at the company and actually evangelize the company's mission and values to other people, a replica effect. At Forkai, we're kind of obsessed with culture, and the channel we use is BAM, which is Business Athlete Mode. It essentially means that we think the same principles, work ethics, habits, and details that go into being an elite athlete, a superstar athlete, are the same that goes into being an awesome data scientist, or an awesome programmer, or an elite chef, or an elite architect, or artist, or teacher. So we follow those same principles through Business Athlete Mode. There are 9 principles. Number 1 and 2 is be authentic and transparent. If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear, then there's nothing that can threaten you. Be yourself and sky's the limit. Number 3 is you gotta have passion. You gotta follow your own inspiration. Passion is important because if you don't, times will get tough, and at some point, if you're not passionate, you'll just give up. Number 4 is dedication. You gotta commit and stay focused on the task at hand. Overcome your fear of failure, regardless of what the goal that you have in your mind. You gotta believe in yourself, trust your gut, make a commitment, and go for it. Number 5 is mental and physical conditioning. Once you've made that commitment, you really got to get in there and mentally and physically condition yourself over the next 10 years. We talked about eating and sleeping well, resting and exercising, meditation's important, anti-inflammatory diet, lots of water, stretching, family, friends. All of these things are important to keep the tool, your body, this vehicle, your mind and your physical body, to be able to sustain 10 years of attacks, just things coming at you. And then on next level, work ethic, you gotta outwork everybody. Patience, practice, discipline, and outwork every single person. That is the kind of person that we want at Forkai. That's the real culture of who we want. Remember, culture is also about who you want to hire. So BAM Principles really covers that. And you got to stay hyper focused. You got to doesn't matter what's going on. I don't care who's making money, doing what, or succeeding, or blowing up, doing whatever they're doing. Nobody cares. You got to stay focused and understand you have a mission. It takes 10 years. Put your racehorse blinders on and go. At this level, it's time to execute and put everything out there and get back up, because it's going to be a fight. Remember, you worked really, really hard to get to this point, so you should enjoy it. Getting to compete, getting to fight for it, getting to make the startup a reality that's the reward. The process is the reward. This is the part that's really interesting and fun. And if you compete and fight strong enough, you'll reach the next level, which is you become automatic. You fall into subconscious flow and take your game to the next level. Everything you do becomes easy. Doesn't matter if you're coding, writing, directing, it's easy. There is no sense of space and time when you're doing what you're doing, because you're in the ultimate zone. That's it for lecture 6, team hiring, managing, and culture. We have another big lecture next week, lecture 7, which is operation, sales, focus, and intensity. Thank you.